Imagine a civil war so devastating. It killed more people than World War I. A war led by a man who believed he was the younger brother of Jesus Christ. A war that nearly destroyed one of the oldest civilizations on Earth. This actually happened. Between 1850 and 1864, China was torn apart by the Taiping Rebellion, one of the deadliest conflicts in human history. And yet, outside China, almost no one talks about it. By the early 19th century, China was ruled by the Qing Dynasty, a Manchu-led empire governing a massive Han Chinese population. On the surface, the empire looked powerful. In reality, it was deeply unstable. The population had exploded, land was scarce, food shortages were common, corruption infected every level of government, natural disasters, floods, and droughts struck again and again. Opium addiction, forced into China through foreign trade, devastated entire communities. For ordinary people, life was becoming unbearable. China was not just unhappy, it was ready to break. Into this world stepped Hong Xiuquan. Hong was a poor Hakka scholar from southern China who dreamed of success through the imperial civil service exams, the only path to status and power in Qing society. He failed the exams repeatedly. After his final failure, Hong suffered a severe mental and physical collapse. During his illness, he experienced intense visions of heaven, a divine father, and a heavenly brother. Years later, when he encountered Christian pamphlets distributed by missionaries, those visions took on new meaning. Hong became convinced the Heavenly Father was the Christian God, the brother was Jesus Christ, and that he himself was Jesus' younger brother, sent to cleanse China of evil. In Hong's worldview, the demons corrupting China were the Manchu rulers and the old traditions of Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. His message was radical, apocalyptic, and deeply compelling to a population in crisis. What began as a religious movement quickly became a political revolution. Hong and his followers established what they called the Taiping Heavenly Kingdom. It combined Christian-inspired theology with sweeping social reforms. Private property was abolished. Land was to be distributed equally among families. Opium, alcohol, gambling, and prostitution were banned. Foot binding was outlawed. Women were allowed to serve as soldiers and administrators. For millions of impoverished peasants, this was not fanaticism. It was hope. By 1851, the movement erupted into open rebellion. Taiping armies swept through southern China with astonishing speed. Known as the Long Hairs because they refused the mandatory Qing hairstyle, these so-called sacred soldiers fought with religious zeal. While Qing forces, weakened by corruption and poor leadership, collapsed again and again. In 1853, the Taipings captured Nanjing, one of China's most important cities. They renamed it Tianjin, the heavenly capital. From there, they ruled over vast territories and tens of millions of people. China had entered a civil war on a scale almost impossible to comprehend. Entire provinces were devastated. Cities were besieged and sacked. Crops were burned. Villages were erased. Civilians were massacred by both sides. This was not just armies clashing. This was total war. The death toll soared for several reasons. China had the largest population on Earth. Both sides used scorched earth tactics, destroying farmland to starve their enemies. Agriculture collapsed, triggering massive famines. Disease spread unchecked among displaced populations. And the conflict was ideological. The Taipings believed they were fighting a holy war. The Qing believed they were defending civilization itself. There was no room for compromise. By modern estimates, between 20 and 30 million people died, the vast majority of them civilians. The Taiping Rebellion ranks among the deadliest conflicts in human history. Despite their early success, the Taipings began to unravel from within. Power struggles erupted among the leadership. Internal purges eliminated capable commanders. Hong Xiuquan increasingly withdrew from governance, focusing on religious rituals and revelations. Meanwhile, the Qing adapted. They raised powerful regional armies led by commanders like Zheng Guofan and Li Hongzhang. funded by local elites terrified by Taiping radicalism. Western powers, initially neutral, ultimately backed the Qing to protect their trade interests. They even provided military assistance through groups like the ever-victorious army, led by the British officer Charles Chinese Gordon. In 1864, Qing forces recaptured Nanjing after a brutal siege. Hong Xiuquan died shortly before the city fell, likely from illness brought on by deprivation during the siege. The Taiping Heavenly Kingdom was destroyed. The Qing Dynasty survived, but it was permanently weakened. Vast regions of China were depopulated, the economy was shattered, faith in the imperial system was deeply damaged. In the decades that followed, China would face more rebellions, foreign invasions, and ultimately the collapse of imperial rule in 1911. In many ways, the Taiping Rebellion marked the beginning of the end for imperial China. Its legacy of peasant revolution was so profound that decades later, Mao Zedong would look back at the Taipings as early pioneers of his own revolutionary path. It is a story of desperation and belief, of revolutionary hope and catastrophic violence, one of the deadliest wars ever fought, and one of the most forgotten. And perhaps that tells us something about which histories the world chooses to remember. Oh, if you want more stories like this, revolutions and conflicts history forgot, make sure to like, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which hidden chapter of history you want next.